Hi, in this session, I will talk about research ethics, how we can practice responsible conduct as a researcher and demonstrate our integrity. So at the end of this session, you should be able to do one, describe all the steps and take the steps to make sure that we comply with research ethics in different stages of the research. And number two, prepare an information sheet to get the consent of participants for the study. The research ethics crosses different stages of your research, all the way from literature review to the reporting of results. So let's go through, starting from number one. When we review the literature, we should avoid plagiarism. If we use somebody's idea for our research proposal, we should cite the person's work. And if we use somebody's instrument or theory, we should cite the work. This is respect for intellectual property. Even if we rewrite the sentences from active to passive voice, we still need to cite the work because the idea comes from them. Only general knowledge, like there are 7 colors in the rainbow, do not need to be cited because everybody knows that information. Number 2, when conducting the study, get permission for the study before the study is started. If you are conducting the study in Malaysian schools, you should get the permission from the Ministry of Education in Kuala Lumpur and subsequently from the State Education Department. I have here the link you can use. And universities may also have an ethics committee to go through the research proposal and the instrument to make sure that research ethics are complied with. So if the university has such an ethics committee, it is good to go through it to get ethical clearance for the study. If you're collecting data in the village, it is good to let the headman know, because when questions are asked about your presence in the village, the headman can help to explain why you are there and what kind of study you're doing. Number 3, get participant consent. In the social sciences, we do research on people, whether we give them questionnaires or interview them or observe them or analyze documents they prepare. So we need their consent. We need to explain the study to them, tell them about the benefits of participating in the study, and also the risks if there are any. And it's also very important to tell them that they participate voluntarily, and therefore they can withdraw their participation from the study at any time. The other thing is, we need to assure them that the information will be kept confidential to protect their identity. So when we write reports about the results, we will use pseudonyms. We will not use their real name. And we should also not share the data with other people or talk freely about the results with other people, including their names and family details and so on. This is the part about being an ethical researcher. And we also must protect the data securely. That means it doesn't get into the hands of people who may use the information negatively on the participants. This is a sample information sheet that we use to get consent of respondents. There are a number of important kind of information to include here. And the most important one, of course, the title. And we also thank them for taking time to read the information and to participate in the study. It is very important for us to introduce ourselves, our name, and the university we are affiliated to, because if they have any questions, they can always refer to the university. And now this part here, you are seeing the details about how the study will be done and how they are involved. So we need to get their consent about having the interview recorded or the sessions recorded, whether it is just the sound or is it a video recording. And again, although we verbally tell them, we have to put it in writing also that the participation is voluntary and they can withdraw from the study at any time. And again, we assure them that The information will be kept confidential and they will remain anonymous. And again, we talk about how the data will be stored, and no details will be revealed about them in any research reports arising from it. These things may seem to be repeated, in the document as well as verbally when we meet them, but it's very important. And the final part of the information sheet is this. We give them further details of other people they can refer to if they would want to ask further questions. And we say, if you are willing to participate in the study, can you please complete the consent form and sign it? So this is the basics of what goes into an information sheet. Whether you write such a standard one or a shortened version, the essential elements should be there. Number 4, when collecting data, we need to be neutral. We cannot be biased when we select the participants for the interviews, for the observations, or even when we select text like newspaper articles for analysis. This is the very first step because we are analyzing the data, we are reporting results based on the data. If we already tamper with the data in the first place, that means the results will already be biased. We are playing with it from the very start. Okay, then during the data collection process, we may still influence the participants by asking questions in certain ways so that they know we want to hear certain answers and they will give it to us. So we should not do that. We should ask open questions like, how do you find this? Rather than, do you like this? So it is important we follow the selection criteria in the text and the participants, and also the interview guide or the protocol, so that we always ask the questions in the same manner, whoever we are talking to. And when collecting data, we should also ensure that no harm comes to the participants, especially those more sensitive topics. We do not want to cause trauma to them through our questions. Number 5, do not fabricate or falsify data. What's the difference? Well, fabricating data is like this. You make up data or you make up the results. Like you sit under a tree and you fill in the questionnaire yourself. Falsify data means you change the data in certain ways. You may actively change, or you may passively do it by omitting certain data that are very difficult to explain or that look different from the norm. So you found that it's much better to omit them. No, that's actually not ethical. So that is considered falsifying of data, like how you falsify signatures. Number 6, after collecting the data, do a debriefing with participants. A debriefing means that we explain what the data mean in the context of the bigger study. Why don't we do it from the start? Well, at the very start, we often only tell them the general aim of the study because we do not want to lead them to give certain kind of responses. It's not that we're purposely hiding secrets about the study. Some things may be too technical to tell at the beginning, but after they have answered all the questions, now they understand a little bit more about the topic we are studying. That's when it's suitable to do a debriefing. And in experimental conditions, it is very important to do a debriefing. Like if you keep a person in a room full of cockroaches, some people are going to get a mental breakdown. So you need to do debriefing and make sure that they recover from the experience. Number 7, transcribe interviews and recordings accurately. You say, of course you would, but beware, because sometimes you hear certain things, but you type certain things. If the participant says to you, I speak Bahasa Melayu Sarawak, you should transcribe it like that. Don't change to I speak Sarawak Malay, because that's how you normally say things. You transcribe accurately, do not change things you hear. And it is best if you can transcribe the data yourself and not give it to others, because when you give it to others, you are exposing the identity of the participants, because they now know who is being interviewed and they can talk about it with their friends, and that is when anonymity is lost. So it is good to do the transcription yourself. Number 8, and last of all, interpret the results accurately. You say, why not? But people look at the results. When they explain the meaning of the results, sometimes they change what the participants say because they're a bit careless. So we should always read the transcripts, the excerpts that we use, and make sure we know this is what the participants mean, and we convey this in our research report. Because this is our responsibility as a researcher to the participants who have given us their time to be interviewed, to be observed, or to fill in the questionnaire. We need to be responsible to report accurately. And if the topic is very sensitive, like LGBT and politics, all the more we should write carefully so that we don't misrepresent what people say to us or what the results really mean. And lastly, this one could be very tempting to researchers trying to publish. You know, you want to make the data look more interesting than it really is. If you are using writing skills, that's okay. But here we are talking about unethical practices, like using inappropriate statistical tests, or purposely omitting the negative results, or omitting certain data points, or not reporting certain kinds of information to the readers because we don't tell them, they don't know. Okay, or using inappropriate graph labels and terminology. All these are very subtle ways of misrepresenting the results. So we should try to be honest and not to do this. So in conclusion, let me sum it up like this. All the way from literature review to the conducting of the study, to the collecting of data, and to the writing of the results, we need to practice research ethics. It is very important that we have responsible research conduct, because some of it actually will create wrong results that we report in our paper, that is put out there, and they are there forever, and we continue to mislead the present readers and the future readers. Some of the things we do when they are not ethical actually affects our participants. We bluff them into participating in the study or misrepresent them. That is also not okay. So either way, we are not being responsible as a researcher. So it is important we follow the different research ethics so that we have responsibility as a researcher and integrity too. Thank you, and hopefully you will be an ethical researcher.